So hello everyone, how are we doing? Coming back at you with an update on the Spicy Micra here. For those who are new to the channel, this is my K11 Micra time attack car. We've got a turbocharger, we've got a supercharger. That's right, this is a K11 Super Turbo, and we finished the season of time attack last year at the last round at Snetterton with an unfortunate engine failure, which was extremely frustrating for me because the car had developed so much pace since we had done the geometry changes. And this is the engine in question. This was a 1.8 QG18 that I had put forged rods in. And unfortunately, we span a rod bearing on that due to lack of oil pressure at the last corner at Snetterton. I kind of parked the car. I'd had enough at that point, putting so many engines into this car over the last season. All down to silly mistakes. Obviously, we'd found the limit of the stock head bolts due to an unfortunate overboost issue. And at 320 horsepower, it stretches the factory cylinder head bolts. So we kind of know where we are at the limitations of these engines now. So what I've done is I've actually put a fresh junkyard 1.5 litre back in, just because I've decided not to enter time attack with the Spicy Micra this year. Not the full season. We're going to commit to at least round 3, which is at Cadwell Park, which is our local circuit. So that's a circuit we're going to at least do one round in the Spicy Micra. Then other than that, I'm just going to enjoy the car this year. I'm going to do some track days. We may travel a bit further afield rather than our local Cadwell Park. I do kind of like Alton Park, and I kind of really do want to give Donington another go. So this is where we're at with this car. Other than that, it's all good. I've literally maybe about 20 minutes ago just got this all plumbed in and got it started, and I'm literally about to roll it outside onto the concrete, and I'm going to run it up to temperature for about 10-20 minutes and then just see if we've got any leaks. And obviously by parking it on the fresh concrete, we'll be able to see if we've got any leaks or not. So let's get the Micra rolled outside. Okay, so here we are 15 minutes later. We've got it up to temp, about as much as we can do. Because of the really efficient water pumping fan, it doesn't really get that hot. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. Now, there's 2 oil leaks I've had to fix. First one was due to this bolt here not being tight. And this is the high pressure VVT solenoid. And just down there, I'll zoom in if possible. It looks like we've got a slight drip from underneath the oil filter sort of area, which will either be the sandwich plate, the oil filter, or it might actually be the sump itself, because I didn't seal the sump. I delegated that task to someone else when I was ill. But other than that, I'm really happy with that. Engine seems healthy, runs sweet as a nut. We've got fantastic oil pressure, we've got fantastic fuel pressure. I think what I might do now is, because I've not driven it in over 4 months, is I might just take it up and down the yard for a quick bez, see how she goes. So all things considered, I think that test drive went as well as it could have done. No issues whatsoever. It would have been nice to get up into some boost, and as much as that straightaway outside my workshop is perfect for a bit of a first gear pull, there is a gym, 24-hour gym there, which is always busy, and I don't upset the neighbours, so a little gentle drive-by in first, second gear was all that was needed. And unfortunately, this side of the yard, where no one's here on a weekend, the surface just isn't that great, as you'll have seen in the video, to even get into some first gear boost. But other than that, really happy. Testing the geometry changes. Now, if you haven't watched the Snetterton vlog, we introduced a whole new handling package for the front in terms of bump steer correction and roll center correction, and it has made the Micra turning ability, and that has dramatically changed the Micra's turning ability. Now, we used to suffer from a lot of understeer, and now we are seeing actually a bit of oversteer, which is nice. And again, the roll center, from the calculations and various articles that I had read, was severely incorrect, because obviously we had lowered the car so much, and obviously we got wider tyres, different offsets, etc. And I'm going to put the fact that this car was so quick at Snetterton down to the fact that it actually cornered for once, which was amazing. So going to take a year out with the Micra. Again, we've missed the deadline anyway for a championship entry into Time Attack. Unfortunately, there are some live events happening which are going to interfere with the first 2 rounds at Anglesey, and I'm not going to pay near enough £1,000 to miss 2 rounds just for the sake of chancing good points at the remaining 6 rounds, especially since this year they have combined the Pocket Rocket class. So last year the Pocket Rocket class was forced induction and actually aspirated. I know I didn't join it, I was in Classic and Retro, but this year they have combined the class already. That is confirmed, and I really want to compete against people who have done a similar sort of job in terms of, you know, taking a small car, turbocharging a small engine. Other than that, what have we got in mind for the Micra is I really want to revise the rear wing setup. The wing has failed quite a few times this year, and weirdly, it hasn't failed on the circuit, it's failed on the journey to and from the circuit. I'm guessing with the trailer and the potholes and stuff, the wing is just moving around a bit too much. And yeah, we replaced the wing uprights twice last year, and the latest victim is those nice fancy CNC machined ones. Now luckily we do produce this kit for the public as well, and I laser cut those uprights, and we did actually receive a batch of the uprights which were not up to scratch to send to customers' orders, and which I'll quite happily use on this. Do want to go for a wider wing. I think Ilya's got a wing we could probably use. I want to go for a longer chord, wider wing, and we're probably going to put some bigger end plates on it. I think now we're getting a bit of oversteer with the car. I think now trying to control the rear, ironically, is something we're going to have to look at some track days this year. As well as the rear diffuser setup, we might toy with a flat floor. Again, this year we're going to be doing some track days and some sprints and stuff. In the Time Attack classes, we are not permitted to run a flat floor, but for track days and these sprint competitions, we are. So definitely want to put a rear diffuser on the back. If anything, just to complete the Time Attack AERO look of the Micra. That's going to be really important. We're going to keep the passenger seat in there. A lot of people have been asking for passenger rides, and if you keep an eye on the GizFab pages and social medias, we will hopefully be telling people what track days we're doing and where we're doing them, and providing you bring a helmet and pay for your passenger wristbands, you can quite happily jump in the car and you can come out with some laps in between testing and diagnosing. I am also going to finally fix the fueling system on this. Again, another Achilles heel of this particular setup is because of the fuel pickup in the tank. Anything below 3/4 tank gives us fuel surge on right hand corners, and that means we've always had to carry 3/4 tank of fuel that we don't really need. But we're going to fix that this year thanks to a bit of a bargain find on Facebook Marketplace, and that is an old ATL 30 litre fuel cell. Unfortunately, it's out of FAI homologation, but it'll be fine for the club level racing that we do. And I also have a nuke setup here as well, a nuke CFC setup, which was destined for the new project as a bit of a sponsor deal, but I have since, as again we'll discuss when we do a video on that car, is we've actually got a new fuel partner on with that car now, which means the CFC unit is redundant, but luckily the deal with nuke was with sort of both cars, so we're going to fit the nuke CFC unit onto here. And with the fuel tank is going to become upgraded fuel lines for E85 or ethanol based fuel. We're not going to run E85 because it's just way too expensive, especially here in the UK. I know America has it cheap, but over in the UK it is very, very expensive, and you're looking anywhere from £3 to £4 a litre, which makes it extremely expensive for someone like us to use. But me and Ilya have got a plan to make our own ethanol race fuel this year, so that's all going to come with the fuel cell, new fuel lines, and then we've already spoken to Haltech about putting a flex fuel sensor on here, so we can actually measure the content of our moonshine to make sure we're not blowing anything up. But that's one thing I'm looking forward to, is the fuel cell, because it'll be nice to be able to drop 10, 15, 20 kilos of fuel weight out of the car, and 20 kilos is quite a bit of weight to carry just for the sake of keeping the fuel tank with enough fuel in it. Engine wise, obviously we've got a standard 1.5 litre back in here. If you don't know the story, last year we started with a 1.5, which unfortunately we broke a gearbox and hold a piston, and we hold the piston due to a blocked fuel filter, and that wasn't allowing the fuel pressure to rise. The signs were there, we didn't check, that's on me, but unfortunately that's what killed the first 1500. And because we'd got into a different class, we were allowed to use a bigger engine, so we used 1.8 litres. Now I did want to put a 1.8 litre back in, but I could not find the 1.8 Pacific engine that we like to fit, which is the aluminium rocker cover version. For various reasons, the VVT sensors are in different positions, and the camshaft position sensor is also in a different position, so I like to keep the aluminium style to aluminium style without swapping the cylinder heads over and stuff. It's a bit of a faff. So I've got two engines this year. So I've got a 1500 block, which is actually on this little stand just here. I'm actually going to be doing the relevant clearance work for the rods on this afternoon, because this engine is going for machining next week, along with the engine from the new project, which will be a separate video, and the 1800 that we unfortunately span a rod bearing on at Snetterton. I do have 3 extremely good crankshafts, and after a bit of measuring, we believe we can actually use Corsa VXR pistons, which are 79.5mm, but you can get them 0.5 and 0.1 oversize. So we're thinking that we can use a forged rod from a Corsa VXR in there. I have inquired about pistons for them. Wiseco used to make pistons for that engine, but 20 years ago. They don't make them anymore now, and the process to make custom ones is quite expensive, so it makes sense to get some off-the-shelf pistons. And other than that, we are just going to go out this year and enjoy the car, really. I'm gonna go take some leisurely track days, and like I said, just enjoy the car for what it is. And because we are not competing in this car this year, I've not got a faff about and panic about putting engines in this all year. Again, all the engine failures in this last year were down to various underlying factors. I know a lot of people have made fun of me because of these issues, but when you actually sort of sit down and you go, oh, this engine failed because of blocked fuel filter, this engine failed because I made the drive shaft too long and it shook the crankshaft to pieces, this engine died because Muggins here plumbed the wastegate in the wrong way and we saw 2 bar of boost which lifted the cylinder head. All underlying factors. So I'm not going to give up on this car. I really do like this car. I really do like what we've built. It drives absolutely amazing when it is on song. So not going to give up on this car just yet. So yeah, plan for this car is going to try and get a track day booked next week or so. Now, I would like to get this car on a dyno before we do a track day, if possible, just to make sure engine's healthy. I compressor tested it at 170 psi cylinder, so that's all good. And then what we'll do is we'll do the dyno session on this oil, and then I've got some competition oil, which we'll then put for the track day. And of course, there will be a separate vlog on the track day. So, other than that, if you have any questions about the car, our plans this year, and the setup in general, drop a comment down below and I will answer your questions. But yeah, other than that, I thought you all deserved a little bit of an update on the Spicy Micra, because I did leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger last year. A bit of a clickbaity title, you know, is this the end of the Spicy Micra? It was never going to be the end. It was just, obviously, I knew what I was doing this year in regards to the next project car. Again, separate video. You can probably see it there up on the ramp there. And, yeah, now we know what we are doing. So, with that being said, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video, whatever it may be. Ciao for now.